to convert it, so I had to force a draw. But then, yeah, he couldn't. Yeah, he couldn't be happy with the draw, of course, and then what he did just lost instead.
I want to ask you, Magnus, you mentioned about this bishop e3, knight h6 in the first two games where you got this huge time advantage. Were these all over-the-board inspiration, or was this part of the plan from before the match?
No, I didn't know the position of the knight h6, but it's not an untypical move, I think, especially after you played f6 to put it on f7. So, yeah, that was just... but that particular system that I played has been it's been kind of advocated by neural networks, and it's not so bad actually. Yeah, somehow the black games just went very well today. Second game also, I was just enjoying having a time advantage in a very solid position.
Magnus, you have not only won the tour, you've not only won this final event, but also you have won the best game of the season. Your game against Alireza has been chosen by our viewers as the game of the season. Do you remember it? And what is that game, well, what's the memory of it for you?
Well, people are suckers for queen sacrifices, yeah. So, no, I mean, that was one of my better games of the tour. I was very happy that I managed to calculate precisely with only seconds left. But, for instance, Duda played a very nice game here, sacrificing practically all his pieces to mate Anish. So there have been a lot of good games played, but I'm happy to have this fans' support.
Are you proud of the kind of chess that has emerged in the Champions Chess Tour with this demanding format and the fighting play that we've had this season?
Yeah, I think in terms of fighting chess, it's been an awesome season, and for myself as well, I've had a lot of fun, experimented with some openings, and generally tried to play for a win almost every game.
You've done it well, amazingly well. And finally, I have to ask you, because we've got this whole investigation on, we mentioned it to you at the start of it, a certain player who's been beating Wesley every day for the last couple of days over Blitz, and we're trying to find out who it is. The whole world is trying to find out who it is. Goes by the name Sinister Magnus. He's been on for 4 days, up to 3,000 rating. You mentioned it's not you. If you had to take a guess of who it might be, anyone?
I haven't seen the games, so I cannot... It's hard for me to say, but it's a good name.
Few players are able to beat Wesley like that, 5-0 and 7.5, 2.5. So does that give anything away to you?
Yeah, it must be a strong player, no?
All right, well, enjoy the rest of the day, and we'll see you at the closing ceremony. Congratulations, Magnus.
Thank you. Thank you.
Season is over for tour winner Magnus Carlsen, but there is one more game to be played, and what a perfect way to end the season with an Armageddon game. It has started. Anish Giri chose to play with the black pieces. That means he has 4 minutes on the clock, but will win the match with a draw. Wesley so. He started with 5 minutes, and he has to win the game with the white pieces. So what's happening here?
So Giri might have chosen black, but he's played anything but solid, anything but passive. He's played a Benoni opening, and that does mean action here. Black's pieces look fantastic. Black's knight has jumped in, kicking back the white queen. It's level material, but now Giri has opened up the B file for his rook. Also, look at the clocks. He's leveled up the time. This one, it's going to be fast, it's going to be furious later. But right now, on the board, it looks like Giri's doing very well.
Giri's doing fantastically well. I mean, he's got everything he wants to have. He's got active knight. Rook is now coming in. He's got control of all the dark squares. And take a look at White's bishop sitting there on A2. Useless piece. And all Anish has to do is make sure that in the complications, because they are coming after Wesley's last move, that he does not lose his head and keeps his cool.
Yeah. Giri will need to keep his cool. He'll also have to keep up the pace, keep the speed. He's slowed down a bit now, thinking for almost 20 seconds, but he can just take this pawn. He had to take this pawn. There was no real alternative. Some captures here. This bishop now, if it's taken by Black's pawn, suddenly the white rook at the bottom of the board will take Black's bishop. So this is not a real sacrifice, but the evaluation bar says it doesn't work. Does Black have a way, maybe on the dark squares, to give up material, to crash through. It looks like there might be a winning move. Giri gives up his rook, a whole rook down, but he's going to jump in with Black's knight now. 2 white pieces under fire. Black's queen has come to life. Black's going to win either White's dark square bishop or White's knight. And it's just going to be a total mess on the board.
Yeah, this is like the perfect counter-attacking play from Anish, and there he defends his piece, but okay, his position is in tatters. The knight can spring forward to d3, attack the rook, attack the bishop.
Looks very strong.
It looks incredibly strong, and Anish plays it. And it's looking like the situation is getting critical for Wesley. And wow.
Evaluation bar is actually getting confused, though, with the evaluation. Maybe Anish's idea wasn't as strong as it looks, but it does look fantastic for Black. Black has a bunch of pawns, those A pawns. Black's knights are well placed. Ooh, this might be a clever move by Wesley, taking one of the pawns away. Suddenly, Anish, remember, he did make a sacrifice in that little transition phase, and he is down on material. The clock, though, might be the decisive factor. It looks like Black is still doing OK on the board. But 1 minute for Anish Giri. He's nearly a whole minute down on the clock. And I don't think 1 minute is enough. It's still completely chaotic, this position. White's rooks aren't impressive, but they will get into the game eventually. Yeah, maybe he just wasn't accurate enough in that calculation phase. I think with 30 seconds more, he would have found a clear win for Black. Now a check, but White's king is super safe.
And the queen dives into the position, but it's not enough. And all the while, you see Wesley, he's just playing quickly. He's upping the tempo. He's putting the pressure on Anish. And how many seconds? 50 seconds for Anish.
Yeah, the problem is his queen is going to get chased back as well. The white rooks are going to harass that black queen. White's queen can slide across at some point, offer up an exchange. Wesley does need to win, but he can hustle now on the clock, and he can hustle on the board because White is material up. The one thing you need to keep safe is the White king. Okay, he's going on the attack, though. He's going for the black king. We see a bunch of exchanges, but files are opening up. Now White's rook can start giving some checks to Black's king. Loose square, though, for the White knight. It looks like Wesley isn't entirely without nerves either.
41 seconds for the Dutchman, and there the queen swings over, gives a check. King quickly hides in the corner. It's crazy here. It's just going to boil down to who is quicker with the mouse, and the queen is going to step up and just cover some of those important squares on the king side. Yeah,
the queen needs to run now. Black's queen has to keep her knight safe. She steps back 1 square. And Wesley, sneaky move there. He leaves the white knight up for capture, but he's trying to get in with the white queen. The white queen wants to come into f5 with check. Black's bishop was loose, so he had to retreat. Anish is curling up into a ball in the corner. He's got to hope that he can force the draw or survive on the clock. It's not going to be easy. This position is far from drawish, and deadly threat from Wesley, so to bring the rook up. Back rank checkmates are coming.
Is coming. Okay, the queen grabs the pawn, and Wesley in full control here. I mean, look at White's king in the corner. It's safe as houses. There's no checks whatsoever. And wow, that is a nice move from Anish. Just as I spoke, attacking the rook, and suddenly the knight comes and gives a check.
Suddenly Giri is fighting back. He's reasserted control, but look at the clock times. He's down 20 seconds against 30 seconds. Okay, the knight has been captured. Giri, he's won one of the white rooks. Suddenly he must be the favourite. The black queen is hitting the white knight, but also she's sliding behind with some nasty checks. He should be able to force a draw here, Anish Giri, but it's about the clock, 20 seconds each. The clock can't keep up. The clock can't keep up. It looks like Anish has lost on time, but he does have a few seconds left. Oh, but now the white knight is coming in, and there's... Okay, the pawn drops. It looks like Wesley So has blundered. He's blundered his knight. The white king is trapped. This is checkmate, and Giri does have enough time. Wesley resigns.
Giri finishes off with a smile on his face. It's been a struggling few days for him, but what a way to finish it. Winning it in Armageddon. Wesley So, he loses the match, but he takes second place in the tour finals. Let's hear from the 2 players.